everyone, it's Sevy, and in this video I want to share my thought process for an Ayaka-less Spiral Abyss run in the new Difficult 2.0 Spiral Abyss. I didn't do a voiceover for the first video because on that account, Halavi's account, which is higher spender than my own account, my damage output was high enough to brute force it. So in this video, I'm only going to be doing floor 12 because it's where I had the most difficulty in and worked the hardest. I'm going to include some tips and advice, but of course these were only specialized to my own account and gameplay, so it really depends on you how you want to apply them. Now this isn't a free-to-play team, and I'm not going to pretend it is. This is a low to mid spender account, but it's less built than, again, Halavi's account in the first video. Though I'm using 5-star characters, I only have 2 5-star weapons, and the only 5-star constellations I have are on Zhongli and on Mona. So let's quickly go through my team comps. My first team is Zhongli, Ganyu, Mona, and Venti, kind of like a more expensive Morgana team. So only Ganyu is hyper invested as a DPS. She has an R1 80 out of 80 Amos bow with a crown charged attack, Blizzard Strayer build, and on C0. Then we have Zhongli, who's hyper invested as a burst spam shield bot. He's using an R5 Favonius Lance, a full tenacity build, and he's on C4. You can check out my polling video of him in the card above, it was really lucky. Mona is holding an R5 Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, double Noblesse, double Emblem, and she's C1, which helps opponents receive more damage. Venti is on an attack and crit build, and he's using a Stringless, and he's C0. On my second team, I'm using a Kazuha national team. So first we have a full Elemental Mastery Kazuha on R1 Iron Sting, he's C0. Then we have a C6 Bennett on 4-piece Noblesse Oblige and Skyward Blade. Then we have Xingqiu on a 2 Wanderers, 2 Heart of Depth, and then he's using an R2 Sax Sword, and his E does a ton of damage. Xingqiu is on C5. Xiangling is on the Deathmatch, and she uses a 4-piece Crimson Witch. She probably has the best build out of these 4 in terms of stats, despite having the lowest talent levels, and she's at C5. So let's get started with 12-1. As you can expect, 12-1 was the hardest for me. In fact, I 3-starred 12-2 and 12-3 before I did 12-1. So initially I tried doing this with a semi-damage built Mona on a Wid Sith and 4-piece Emblem, but then I realized her damage wasn't enough and I was only really using her to proc freeze and help Ganyu's Blizzard Strayer crit, and use her taunt as well. So instead I switched her to an Energy Recharge Sands, gave her a more scuffed build, and then gave her Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers on R5, and she became a much better support after that and much more useful. So the important thing for me for 12-1 would be crowd control, because the Nobushi are too heavy to be pulled on by Venti, so I really abuse Ganyu's and Mona's taunt skill alongside Venti's Vortex. The best I could do once they are bunched together is freeze them or petrify them with Zhongli's Burst. Venti's ult becomes more useful in later chambers, but in this chamber I mostly use him to swirl and recharge energy. You do need to keep them together to manage their HPs together, because if one dies too soon, then the other regenerates energy. So if there's a case where I usually can't kill them fast enough together, I usually restart the run. There's also a factor of luck here, to be honest, because sometimes if you kill one first, then the other only takes like the next frame to regenerate its energy. But there are other instances where if you kill the first one too soon, the other takes, I don't know, a few seconds to regenerate energy. It's a bit inconsistent and unpredictable, so I usually just hope for the best. Now for the second half of 12-1, this team is really built around dealing off-the-field damage, so I use a lot of Firestorm Kazuha here to continuously get Pyro on the field. And when skills were on cooldown, I would use Bennett a lot to spam his skill more, or to Xiangling to recharge more energy. Thankfully, Kazuha's and Bennett's skill cooldowns are good for alternating and rotating. Unfortunately, this round relies on a lot of luck, because even though I can hack through the Pyro Fatui easily, even with their Pyro resistance, although ideally you need both the Mirror Maiden and Sisson Mage CC'd together to break their shields and resistances efficiently. When they're too far apart, I usually end up restarting the run. Since this team relies on their bursts mostly, it's a matter of managing high tide and low tide. Generate energy during high tide using skills and normal attacks, and then shred the defense while you're at it if you can, and then use the ults during the low tide. The duration of all of their characters' ults are pretty long, so it's more or less 100% uptime here. I just had to get used to managing the skill cooldowns of each character. Xiangling is also really doing most of the energy alongside Xingqiu, but like the national team naturally does, this Kazuha national team synergizes very well. Moving on to 12-2 first half, what made this doable has to be Zhongli. I initially tried it with the original Morgana team with Diona instead of Zhongli, but I couldn't rely on Diona's shield enough, whether because of gameplay or because of her build, so Ganyu kept getting one-shotted by the Electro Churl that comes out in a while. My Zhongli's shield, on the other hand, can pretty much tank anything, including the charges and slams of the Electro Churl, so yeah. Another big annoying thing to watch out for here is Bubble Boy. Often when I'm shooting them with Ganyu, I run into a bubble and it's very sad, so I had to break the habit of moving too much while charging my Ganyu and believing that I would be safe in Zhongli's shield. Fortunately, Bubble Boy will usually teleport to you, so crowd controlling isn't too hard, and Venti's skill and burst also help with popping the bubbles. For bubble popping, Zhongli's burst and Ganyu's Frostflake Bloom are also great. Next, we have Mr. Maguu Kenki, and he takes 10 seconds to get up, but thankfully it's high tide, so I just use skills and auto attacks to generate energy during that time. This is almost purely a damage check, but there is some luck involved too. So for me, the only doable way of nailing this run is getting him into a corner and hoping he stays there. I don't know if there's a way to deliberately force him into a corner, to be honest, so I attack him where he is and hope for the best. If he starts zipping around too far, I usually restart the run. But generally, it's the same concept as the last chamber. Try to get 100% uptime on the ults, use iframes and Kazuha's E to dodge Maguu's one-shot since I don't have a shielder, but as much as possible, keep Bennett's ult on so that if you do get hit, you can easily heal. Again, a lot of the damage is really coming from Xiangling's Pyronado, so damn. And now we have Chamber 3, this is the first half. Chamber 3 out of the entire floor 12, and it's really mostly a damage check. The Ruin Hunter is pretty easy to kill with Ganyu and Zhongli, especially because it doesn't go up. Like, you can take it down, you don't have to shoot its eye out, you can reach it mostly from the ground and all that. And on this first half, when all of the Ruin Sentinels come out after the Ruin Hunter dies, they pretty much spawn very close to each other. So when that happens, I mostly employ the same crowd control technique as the first chamber, so it's taunt, petrify, freeze, use Venti as much as possible. And in this team, all of their ults and skills are pretty much AoE, so it's not too difficult. One challenge here is keeping Ganyu from dying, but as long as I have my shield up with Zhongli, I get his 100% shield uptime, then Ganyu is more or less safe. Since I'm not using Diona here, I don't have a healer at all, so I'm really just relying on Zhongli's shield to tank it through and keep me alive. On the second half of 12-3, the bigger problem here is that after you beat the Ruin Guard, which isn't too hard, at least compared to the Ruin Hunter, the Ruin Sentinels that come out, they spawn a bit farther apart. So you can see at this point that the Ruin Sentinels are quite spread out across the room, and you have to wait a bit for them to come to you. But again, once they do come to you, it's just another damage check, so I used the same attack pattern as the previous chambers, kept up the elements and reactions as much as possible. You gotta get that Pyronado going, got Xingqiu's swords as much as possible. And I also use Kazuha's E skill to dodge a lot. There's a lot of iframe usage here because I'm not really good at predicting the Sentinel's attacks yet. So at this point, there's only one Ruin Sentinel remaining, and I have Xiangling's ult hitting 40k on that Pyronado. Damn. And that's the floor 12 clear. I didn't get all 9 stars on this floor all at once. It took a lot of grinding. Like I said before, I've accomplished 12-2 and 12-3 before finishing the 3 stars on 12-1. I just want to say that Spiral Abyss is really a matter of consistent progress. This new Abyss brought on new challenges, but I was quite confident that it was at least possible, which drove me to try harder. Still, it literally took hours to do, hours of restarting, trying different comps, altering the builds, putting up with lag and glitches, and just trying to brute force or learn the high tide, low tide management. A lot of people can make this look easy, but in most cases it isn't. Yes, I'm not free to play, and I likely spend more than most of my viewers on character roles, but hopefully at least the techniques or comps helped you out. The main rules for team comping hold true still in this new Spiral Abyss. A hyper-invested DPS with good supports is always a good way to go, positioning and crowd controlling the enemies, shield and aura breaking, energy and cooldown management, especially with a high tide, low tide, and you need luck. Lots of luck, especially for those who can't brute force it. So that's going to be all for this video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched the entire thing, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell button, and leave a like and a comment on how you feel about the new Spiral Abyss. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care!